blood is rushing into your muscles, and that's what we call the pump.
And I wanted to get into movies and be a leading man. I said to myself, I have to do the same thing as I did with bodybuilding. I have to go and work 5 hours a day at this, and I have to take acting lessons, I have to take English lessons and voice lessons, stunt lessons.
There is something oddly poetic about Arnold Schwarzenegger, the former Mr. Olympia turned action star turned governor of California, revealing a tender spot for musicals and tearjerkers. He may have pulverized the cinematic landscape in the 1980s and 90s as a monosyllabic cyborg and jungle predator slayer, but underneath the biceps and bombast lies a man with a surprising sensitivity to story, character, and emotion. In an interview with Rotten Tomatoes, Schwarzenegger discussed his favorite films of all time, and the results were as revealing as they were diverse. His selections range from science fiction dystopias to sweeping romantic epics, from gangster operas to nostalgic musicals, and each title opens a window into the inner workings of a man whose career has often been overshadowed by the caricature of invincibility. For me, he said, movies have to be entertaining, but also emotionally powerful. They have to do something to you, stay with you after you leave the cinema. It's no great surprise that Steven Spielberg's masterwork E.T. the Extraterrestrial should top Schwarzenegger's list. As a father, a former immigrant, and a man intimately familiar with the feeling of being an outsider in a strange land, Schwarzenegger found in E.T. a parable that transcended genre and age. I think that E.T. was a whole new way of entertaining, he said. Spielberg did just a spectacular job on that. It was literally for everyone to enjoy. I mean, it doesn't matter. Women, men, young, old, everybody could enjoy that movie. The film, which tells the story of a gentle alien stranded on Earth and befriended by a lonely boy,
E.T.
might seem an unlikely favorite for a man more commonly associated with bazookas than bicycles. But it's the film's humanity that struck Schwarzenegger. There's so much heart in that film, he explained. It wasn't just about aliens, it was about friendship, family, and being different. Those are things I understand. The irony is delicious. A man who played one of cinema's most emotionless machines turns out to have been deeply moved by a creature who said only 4 words. The second film on Schwarzenegger's list is more in keeping with the hard-nosed world of action cinema, but his reasons for admiring The Godfather are more nuanced than one might expect. Directed by Francis Ford Coppola, the film is a monumental study in power, loyalty, and the corrosion of idealism.
You think I could fool a Corleone? I come innocent. I surrender kids. Please, Mike, don't do this to me.
I think when you talk about action movies, the combined story with action, Godfather is without any doubt one of the best of that kind, Schwarzenegger told Rotten Tomatoes. But he was quick to highlight that its strength wasn't merely in its violence, but in its characters. Really well fleshed out characters and all that. You feel like you know them. He admired the way Coppola and Mario Puzo, who adapted his own novel, allowed the characters to evolve across the trilogy. Michael Corleone starts off as this quiet war hero, someone who wants nothing to do with the family business. But by the end, he's the coldest one of all. Schwarzenegger's respect for character arcs is telling. While his own roles in films like Predator and Total Recall,
To be honest with you, Doug, if outer space is your thing, I think you would be much happier with one of our Saturn cruises. Everybody raves about them.
No, I'm not interested in Saturn. I said Mars.
often featured heroic stoicism rather than inner turmoil, he was, as a viewer, drawn to psychological complexity. He has also cited the film's influence on how he approached his political life. It's about power, but it's also about consequence. It taught me that leadership isn't just about strength, it's about knowing when to listen, when to act, and when to walk away. Perhaps the most unexpected title in Schwarzenegger's cinematic canon is The Sound of Music. Directed by Robert Wise, it is, on the surface, the antithesis of the testosterone-fueled world of 1980s action cinema. But for Schwarzenegger, it was much more than a musical. It was a love letter to home. "It's Austria," he said simply. "The music, the look of it. I think it was really a movie that was a very interesting story, but it sold my homeland visually in such a spectacular way. Born in Thal, a village near Graz, Schwarzenegger grew up in post-war Austria, a country still recovering from the trauma of history. The Sound of Music, though made in Hollywood and written by Americans, captured the romanticism of the Austrian Alps in a way few other films ever had. I have gone, of course, to all of the various different locations that they shot the scenes and all that in Salzburg and around in the Alps, he said. It's a really spectacular, entertaining film. The Von Trapp's tale of courage in the face of tyranny also resonated with Schwarzenegger's own family history. His father had served in the Wehrmacht during the Second World War, and the actor has spoken candidly in recent years about reckoning with that legacy. "We can't change the past," he said in a speech addressing the storming of the US Capitol, "but we can learn from it." In The Sound of Music, he found not only nostalgia, but a kind of redemption, a vision of Austria as beautiful, brave, and unbowed. Few films have dominated the box office and cultural conversation quite like James Cameron's Titanic. At the time, it was the most expensive film ever made, and the highest grossing. Schwarzenegger, who had worked with Cameron on the Terminator franchise, was in awe of what his friend and collaborator had achieved. "I thought that it was just really well done," he said. "Visual effects, personal stories about people, the character's development, the action, and then the end. The emotional roller coaster ride was, and the music. Everything was a straight 10. It's worth noting that by the late 1990s, Schwarzenegger was transitioning out of the peak of his action career. Films like True Lies had already shown a more comedic, human side, and Titanic represented a shift in what audiences wanted. Less machismo, more emotion. What he admired most about Titanic was its ability to fuse spectacle with intimacy. It's this enormous disaster movie, but what you remember is Jack and Rose, the way they look at each other. That's great storytelling. He also applauded the ambition behind the film. James is a perfectionist. He wants everything to be right, not just the big stuff, but the little things, and he made history with that film. Everyone told him he was crazy, but he pulled it off. If The Sound of Music revealed Schwarzenegger's romantic soul, and Titanic his appreciation for emotional storytelling, then Unforgiven showed his reverence for craft. Clint Eastwood's Western, which won 4 Academy Awards including Best Picture and Best Director, was a deconstruction of the very mythos that Eastwood had helped build. "He's an idol of mine," Schwarzenegger said. "I always idolized him since before I came over to America. I loved his Western movies and followed his career very closely, then became friends with him and really admired him." Eastwood's transformation from stoic gunslinger to introspective filmmaker mirrored, in many ways, Schwarzenegger's own career evolution. Tremendously skilled as a producer, as a director, the music he does for his movies, the acting, the directing, I mean everything. Unforgiven marked a turning point in how violence was portrayed on screen. It was gritty, unflinching, and tragic, a far cry from the romantic shootouts of earlier westerns. "It showed what killing does to a man," Schwarzenegger noted. "It's not glamorous, it's not cool, it's ugly, and it stays with you." It's a philosophy that would later inform some of his post-governor roles, particularly in films like Maggie.
No, please.
Go home. Just go home.
Where he played a grieving father navigating a zombie apocalypse, not with weapons, but with anguish. Finally, there is Westworld, Michael Crichton's science fiction western, in which Yul Brynner plays a robotic gunslinger who malfunctions in a high-tech amusement park. It is, Schwarzenegger confessed, the film that planted the seed for the Terminator. It just had the most profound impact on me, he recalled. What got me to be really interested in playing the Terminator, because Yul Brynner plays a machine that malfunctions, and it's a very well-made movie, a very well-written movie. The parallels between Brynner's performance and Schwarzenegger's own turn as the cybernetic assassin are unmistakable. Both characters are emotionless killing machines.
Hold it!
Oh.
Relentless and nearly indestructible. Westworld also marked the convergence of Schwarzenegger's twin passions, science fiction and futurism. As governor of California, he championed green technology and innovation. As an actor, he was always drawn to roles that explored the intersection between man and machine. "It's not just about robots," he once said. "It's about us, about what we become when we lose control." Taken together, these 6 films reveal a remarkably reflective side to Schwarzenegger, a man who, despite his granite physique and on-screen invulnerability, has always been a cinephile with a soft spot for nuance and emotion. In E.T., he saw the outsider's journey. In The Godfather, the cost of power. In The Sound of Music, a homeland reborn in melody. Titanic gave him spectacle laced with sorrow. Unforgiven offered a masterclass in moral reckoning. And Westworld lit the spark that would define his most enduring character. "I didn't just want to make movies," he once said. "I wanted to understand them, what makes them work, what makes people come back to them, what makes them matter." He may have built his empire on brute force and box office muscle, but Arnold Schwarzenegger's favorite films show a man who never stopped watching, learning, and feeling.